For this next assignment, we're going to start using coils to make the walls of our pots. A coil is simply just a rope of clay, and we have to roll those coils out and then use those to start building up the wall of the pot and to create some decoration with those coils as well. This handout is available in the classroom. It's also on Canvas, so you can look at it there, but it lists all of the criteria for the assignment. For this one, there is a height requirement, so between 6 to 8 inches tall. All of the coils need to be hand rolled. And I want you to show me at least 5 different variations to the direction of your coils as well. And I'll explain that here in just a minute. The interior of the coils, so the inside of the pot needs to be all blended together so those coils stay together. I want you to show some symmetrical balance. So in other words, if we were to cut this pot in half, vertically, it would be the same on both sides. And then the vase itself needs to have a belly or a shoulder. In this case, we can see a belly here, a neck, a very defined neck, and then a nice flat lip to it. So we're going to add that challenge to the whole thing as well. As you can see down here at the bottom, I have somewhat of a rubric. From a C+ over here, which is, you know, the coils are pretty nice, the design's pretty nice. But it's a little rough. It could be cleaned up a little bit better. This B+ version is really quite nice. There's just not 5 different variations to the coils. And then the A- has a nice symmetrical balance to it as well. But again, only 4 different variations to the coils, I believe. And then the one next to that is a D grade on a pot. You can see that there's no defined belly, there's no defined neck. It's almost just a cylinder, and it's a little bit sloppy at that too. This top example would be an example of A work, really nicely done. On the back of this handout, you'll see there's lots of different ideas on how to make different variations to your coils, whether it's braiding the coils or weaving the coils, you know, whatever it might be. So that again is for your reference. To get started, we need to learn how to roll coils. So I'm just going to take a piece of clay and start to squish it into a cigar shape. And then I'm going to start to roll it out on my table. As I roll this out, I just want to keep even pressure. It also helps to use soft clay. If you try to roll coils with stiff clay, it's really difficult. So just using even pressure, I start to roll those coils and actually start to stretch them out at the same time. And I really only roll with about that much of my hand. I've had students that roll with their whole hand, so whatever works best for you works best. Now I'm going to try and make these coils an even thickness so that the coils at the bottom of my pot are the same thickness as the coils at the top of my pot. So I'm going to use my metal scraper and just cut this coil. It's really good for cutting small pieces of clay like coils. And I'm just going to measure the width of that coil. And you can see that it is about a 1/2 inch wide. And that's what we're shooting for. I want a coil that's about a 1/2 inch thick. So that's a good consistency. I'm just going to set that aside, and I'm just going to keep rolling coils. Before I start this assignment, I like to have several coils rolled out so I can just keep working and not have to stop and roll more coils. Now, one of the problems I find with beginning coil rollers is that sometimes the coil goes flat, and you'll hear this sound when you roll the coil. Kind of that thumping sound. And you can see that it's more of an oval shape rather than a circular shape. To remedy that, I'm just going to twist the top and the bottom of that coil in opposite directions. Basically make a breadstick out of it. And that brings it back to a circular shape. And then I can just roll that again and try to make it nice and round. All right, I've got plenty of coils here. Now I'm going to get started building my pot. For this assignment, we're going to start with a styrofoam bowl. This is a 12-ounce bowl, and it'll create a nice, perfect base for our pot that will then build up, like I said, at least 6 inches tall coming up out of that bowl. So to start with, I just need to decide how I want my coils to look at the bottom of my pot. So what I like to do is start with some pattern. Again, I'll use my metal scraper. It's nice and sharp. Does a really good job cutting clay. And I'm just going to start with that kind of shape, kind of 4 quarters. And now I can start to fill in each of my quarter. And you can start any way you want to start. This is not how you have to start. These are just some ideas. I prefer that you come up with your own idea. What I'm doing now is not using coils, but I'm using what are called buttons, just little buttons of clay. But from here, I can now cut some coils to come up here vertically. Got some more of these coils that I already have rolled out. Again, I'll keep cutting some verticals. And maybe I can fill that gap in with a bunch more buttons if I wanted to. But remember, the requirement is that I have coils going in different directions. So what I think I'm going to do here is actually start going horizontal with my coils. So I have a vertical coil, I've got a button, and I've got a horizontal coil. So already I've got 3 different variations to my coils. I count buttons as one of those variations. So I'll just keep this pattern going along. That was a little wide there, I need to cut that down a little more. Okay, for this other side, I want to add some variation. So I'm going to take this piece of clay, I'm going to take this coil and just roll it on itself and create a pinwheel. I'm going to stick that pinwheel in the wall right there. Now I've got some space, some little openings, so you can see some openings down there at the bottom. I can leave those open, or I can just fill them up with some little tiny buttons like that. And here again, I could leave that space open right there if I wanted to, but I like to fill those with little buttons as well. So already I've got half of the inside of my bowl finished as far as placing the coils. Now what I need to do is blend my coils. For blending coils, I like to use my wood knife. I'm just going to start to pull those coils and blend them together. Remember, part of the criteria is that you blend smooth the coils on the inside of your pot. And the wood knife is really good for that. Right now it's not smooth, I've got them blended, but now I got to make it nice and clean. Craftsmanship is always a part of the grade. Good clean presentation with clean craftsmanship. And right now that's still a little rough. So I can either take my finger is really good for blending things nice and smooth. That's usually what I do first. And then I will usually take my sponge with maybe just a little water on it, just slightly damp, and smooth that out really clean. Now honestly, I may not even see the inside of my bowl, or excuse me, what I'm actually going to make is a vase. And I'm not probably going to see the inside of that with the vase, you know, having a narrow neck at the top, but still, I always want to have good craftsmanship. Now I'll continue on with this side, probably use a similar pattern, but then I'm going to, layer perhaps just a horizontal coil right along there in order to have a nice base for the next set of coils to go on top of. So again, I'll blend this together. Using my thumb or my finger. And start building the wall coming up out of the pot now. All right, so I've shown you that you can make pinwheels,